The well-known phenomenon of the medieval Knights Templar and their secret rituals has captured attention for centuries. Who were the Knights Templar, and why were they tried? We will try to find some answers in the events and various circumstances in which this monastic order existed. The Order of the Poor Knights of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, also known as the Order of the Temple of Solomon, the Knights Templar, or simply the Templars, was a Catholic military order, one of the richest and most popular military orders of Western Christians. The Knights Templar was an order of devout Christians founded in Jerusalem sometime between 1118 and 1119 AD. The order was created to protect Europeans traveling to the Holy Land, among other duties. However, the testimonies indicate that this well-known purpose served only as a facade, and that this order served to realize a much more ambitious, grandiose geopolitical plan. They were based on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem and existed for almost 2 centuries during the Middle Ages. The Templars were organized as a monastic order that was considered the first effective international organization in Europe. It was a completely new phenomenon. For the first time in Christian history, soldiers were supposed to live as monks. The Knights Templar, in their distinctive white mantles with a red cross, were among the most skilled fighting units of the Crusades. They developed innovative financial techniques that were an early form of banking and probably formed the world's first multinational corporation. At dawn on Friday, October 13, 1307, King Philip IV of France, known as Philip the Fair, ordered the simultaneous arrest of Grand Master Jacques de Molay, who was the great leader of the Templars, and dozens of other French Templars. Later, this date became popularly known as Friday the 13th, an unlucky day. Yielding to Philip's demands, Pope Clement V then issued a papal bull on November 22, 1307, a kind of public decree, ordering all Christian monarchs in Europe to arrest all Templars and confiscate their property. Why would the Pope, who was the head of the Church of the entire Western Christian world, please a ruler? First of all, we should be familiar with the moves of King Philip the Fair, who stopped at nothing to reach his goal. Earlier, he managed to kidnap and kill one pope, Boniface VIII, and there are indications that he caused the death by poisoning of another Benedict XI. King Philip was so audacious that he even managed to kidnap the papacy itself from Rome, moving it to Avignon, which started the so-called Avignon Papacy, which divided Catholicism for the next 60 years. Of course, it is not difficult to assume that he installed his puppet as the Pope, and that was the former Archbishop of Bordeaux who became Pope Clement V. What were Philip's motives for destroying one of the greatest supports of the Christian world, which was provided by the Order of the Knights Templar? Philip had previously asked to be admitted to the Knights Templar as an honorary member, as had previously been granted to Richard I, but was insultingly refused. Then, in 1306, a rebellion forced him to seek refuge in the Templar temple in Paris, where he gained insight into the vast wealth the order possessed. As the Latin kingdom ruled by the Templars in the Middle East was lost due to the loss of territory, the Templars wanted to establish their own territory in the heart of Europe, following the example of the Teutonic Knights, who had their own principality in the Baltic. Given that Philip saw in their intention a threat to his own power and the need to acquire the Templar wealth, these reasons were more than enough. During the proceedings against the Templars, shocking claims were made that during the initiation ceremonies, new recruits were forced to spit on a cross, deny Christ, and engage in indecent kissing. The brothers were also accused of idol worship, and the order was said to encourage homosexual practices. So the Templars were accused of idolatry and suspected of worshipping a figure known as Baphomet. And a mummified severed head they found, among other artifacts, at their original seat on the Temple Mount that many scholars hypothesize could be that of John the Baptist himself. Pope Clement V called for papal hearings to determine the guilt or innocence of the Templars. With cruel methods of torture, the Inquisition coerced the confessions of many Templars, but when they were freed from the Inquisitors' torture, most of the Templars renounced their confessions. As for the leader of the order, the Grand Master Jacques de Molay, who confessed to many iniquities also under terrible torture, later retracted his confession, but was nevertheless found guilty of a heretical relapse and was sentenced to be burned alive at the stake in Paris on March 18, 1314. According to legend, Jacques de Molay called out from the flames and swore that Pope Clement and King Philip would soon meet him before God. In truth, whether the curse worked or it was just a series of unfortunate circumstances, Pope Clement V died just a month later, and so did King Philip IV himself, who suffered hunting injuries before the end of the same year.